Joseph and Christina had been married for 2 years, coincidentally tying the knot on Christmas Day. Every year, they celebrated their wedding anniversary and Christmas with great enthusiasm, inviting many guests to their home. However, they had a dark secret that no one else knew. For the past 2 years, whenever they hosted a Christmas party, one guest would mysteriously disappear on their way home. The police had investigated thoroughly, but found no clues. They suspected Joseph and Christina might be involved, but lacked evidence. This year, while the couple was out Christmas shopping, the police secretly installed cameras in their home, hoping to catch them in the act. As expected, another guest went missing this year. The police accessed the camera recordings and were shocked by what they saw. Joseph and Christina brought the guest into their bedroom. Christina looked severely deteriorated, her clothes hanging loosely on her skeletal frame, her muscles as if she were decaying. Yet, her body was not entirely decomposed. They chained the guest, and the police, led by Officer Vishnu, rushed to the house. Upon arrival, they found Christina's face partially torn, her body even more skeletal and horrifying. She attacked the police, while Joseph tried to drag the guest towards the fire. Just as he was about to burn the guest, Officer Vishnu apprehended him. Christina had injured several officers, but her body was weakening rapidly. She eventually collapsed, and the police arrested them both. Christina died shortly after. It was Christmas night in 2014. My family and I were returning home after dinner, exhausted and eager to sleep. However, my little sister was still excited and insisted on buying a toy. My father stopped at a gas station and took her to get the toy, while my mother went to the restroom. I sat alone in the car, listening to music with my headphones on, waiting for them. As I waited, I noticed a man standing in the distance. Due to the darkness, I couldn't see his face, but I could make out a long rod-like shadow in his hand. I tried to get a clearer look, but felt him slowly approaching the car. My headphones suddenly began to malfunction, playing and pausing the song on their own. I tried to disconnect them, but they wouldn't. Instead, a loud beeping sound filled my ears. I quickly removed the headphones, rubbing my ears, and when I looked back, the man was gone. I scanned the area, only to find him standing right next to the driver's side window. He had a long rod, his clothes were torn, and his hands and feet were bleeding. He stared at me intensely and struck the car with his rod. I was frozen with fear. Just as the rod was about to break the car's window, I heard my sister's voice. I turned to see my family approaching the car. When I looked back, the man was gone, and everything seemed normal again. I was shocked and terrified, but didn't say anything. We reached home around midnight, and I went straight to my room, still thinking about the man. To distract myself, I put my headphones back on and listened to music. But soon, the same malfunction occurred, and the loud beeping started again. I was scared to death. When I looked up, I saw the same man standing at my window, smiling and knocking with his rod. I screamed loudly. My parents rushed into my room, and I told them everything. My father called the police, but they found no one around our house. Later, I learned that there was a madman in our neighborhood who used to attack people with a long rod. He was reportedly killed by the locals. Perhaps the man I saw was his ghost. Christmas is considered the happiest festival around the world. On this day, all children eagerly await Santa, believing he will bring them Christmas presents. But what if a demon is waiting inside Santa's gift? On Christmas Eve, Max hung up many socks by her Christmas tree and wrote a note before going to sleep. A little later, Max's parents came into her room with a present and some candies. Max's mom filled the socks with candy, and her dad placed the gift under the Christmas tree. They quietly left the room, anticipating how happy Max would be to see her favorite gift in the morning. However, neither Max nor her parents could have predicted what would happen next. Around 3 a.m, Max suddenly woke up, feeling as if someone was repeatedly touching her feet. She sat up immediately, but saw nothing near her feet. Then she noticed the gift under the Christmas tree. Excited, she opened it right away and found a beautiful doll in a pink frock, emitting a strange scent. The doll had a button under its neck, which Max pressed, causing it to play the Jingle Bells song. As the song played, The lights in Max's room began to flicker. The sound from the doll grew louder, hurting Max's ears. Meanwhile, her parents were soundly asleep in their room when they heard Max screaming. They rushed her room but found her sleeping peacefully. Everything seemed normal, including the gift under the Christmas tree. Confused, they assumed it was just a dream and went back to their room. The next morning, they found Max playing happily with the doll. Everything seemed fine until a few days later, when Max experienced severe seizures during a lecture at school. Her body contorted, and the same strange scent from the doll emanated from her. Max's mother was called and took her to a doctor, who was also a church member. He suspected a supernatural cause, but didn't tell Max's mother then, instead advising bed rest for a week. The real horror began that night. Max started staring at her parents for hours and drawing strange symbols on their bedroom walls. The song from the doll sometimes echoed through the house, and the scent filled the rooms. One night, when Max's father was away, her mother woke to find a woman hovering over her, smiling and humming the same song. Terrified, she screamed, and the woman fled. In the mirror, Max's mother saw the woman's reflection and realized it was her daughter, Max. She understood that a dark force had possessed her daughter. When Max's father returned, she told him everything. The next day, they consulted the doctor, who introduced them to a priest. The priest performed an exorcism that lasted for 5 days, finally freeing Max from the evil spirit. Since that day, Max has been terrified of the doll, and it took her a long time to return to normal. But to this day, no one knows where the doll went after all this. What would happen if it ended up in someone else's hands? Hopefully, no one ever gets such a doll on Christmas. Becky, who was only 10 years old, was very upset with her mother, Olivia, because they had moved from New York to Chicago just a week before Christmas. Becky missed her old home and all her friends. To cheer her up, Olivia decided to take Becky to a toy shop on Christmas Eve to buy her a favorite gift. Olivia took Becky to several toy shops, but she didn't find anything she liked. As they were heading back home, Becky spotted a toy shop a few blocks away and asked her mom to stop. Inside the shop, Becky found her favorite board game. The shop was filled with beautiful toys, but Olivia noticed something strange. There was no one else in the shop. Despite this, the toys were so enchanting that Olivia felt like a little girl again. While exploring the shop, Olivia suddenly realized that Becky was not with her. She searched the entire store but couldn't find her. She even tried asking for help at the counter, but no one was there. Panicked, Olivia called out for Becky, searching everywhere. She then heard an old man laughing loudly. She turned towards the sound and saw an old man dressed as Santa Claus, sitting in a dark corner with Becky on his lap. As soon as Olivia saw the Santa, he stopped laughing and stared at her. Olivia felt a strange unease and didn't like Becky being on Santa's lap. She shouted for Becky to come to her, but Becky didn't respond. When Olivia approached Santa to take her daughter away, she heard Becky telling Santa that she didn't like her mom because she had moved her away from her friends on Christmas. Olivia looked at Santa, who had a terrifying grin on his face. She quickly took Becky off Santa's lap and started to leave the store. Becky waved goodbye to Santa, but when Olivia looked back, Santa was laughing loudly and suddenly vanished into the darkness. Terrified, Olivia hurriedly got Becky into the car and drove away. Olivia's husband, Tyler, was away on an important business meeting in a nearby city. As soon as they reached home, Olivia called Tyler and asked him to come back quickly. Tyler promised to return by night. That night, Olivia locked the house from the inside and tried to sleep with Becky in her room. Late at night, she was awakened by Becky's laughter and the sound of a song, Jingle Bells. Olivia opened her eyes in fear and saw the same Santa from the toy shop standing by the window, tossing Becky into the air. Olivia screamed in terror. Santa turned towards her, singing the song louder. Becky fell to the floor, and Olivia, without thinking, grabbed her injured daughter and ran out of the house. As she descended the stairs, she saw Santa approaching her, looking even more horrifying. Olivia threw plates and forks at him, but they went right through him. Desperate, she broke a window and escaped with Becky. In the car, Olivia felt someone choking her. She looked in the rearview mirror and saw Santa behind her, strangling her. Santa told the crying Becky that her Christmas present would be her mother's corpse. Olivia struggled to breathe and slowly lost consciousness. When she woke up, Tyler and Becky were by her side, trying to revive her. Some neighbors who had heard the commotion had found Olivia unconscious in the car and taken her to the hospital. When Olivia told them the whole story, they revealed that the toy store had been closed for years. Years ago, a madman had worked there, dressing as Santa on Christmas to scare people. One Christmas Eve, some boys, fed up with him, set off fireworks in the shop, locking it from the outside. The shop caught fire, and the Santa died in the blaze. Since then, people have reported seeing the ghostly Santa every Christmas Eve. If anyone enters the toy shop and asks Santa for something, he would come to their house and take the life of that person or a family member. The neighbors told Olivia that there had been several such incidents in the area. Feeling fortunate to have survived, Olivia and her family moved to a new house. However, Olivia could never forget the terrifying face of that Santa.